Hello everybody, and welcome back to another My Porch Prints tutorial. This is Kyra, and I am so happy to be back with all of you. I know it's been a while, but we are ready to jump right in with today's tutorial, which is going to be decorating the Wild Mushrooms file folder printable from our Etsy shop. And we're going to be using the Wild Mushrooms journal kit that goes along with this to kind of decorate them and kind of keep that theme going. And I went ahead and assembled one of these off camera just to sort of get an idea of what I might want to do. I think this turned out a little bit messier than the ones we'll be doing going forward, but I was sort of just playing around, doing whatever came to mind, and this is kind of the general idea of how we'll be assembling it, with like pockets and tags and lots of little decorative elements. So let's go ahead and get started by choosing one of the file folders. I'm going to go ahead and use this one here that has like the blank inside and the mushrooms on the outside corner. And I'm also going to be taking some ephemera from the Wild Mushrooms kit, this little tag here, and also one of the papers from the Coffee and Script junk journal kit, just a scrap of that, as well as some other decorative scrap pieces I have, like parchment paper, printed vellum, and one of the pretty papers from the Wild Mushrooms kit. And then grabbing one of the large tags from the Wild Mushrooms kit, I'm just going to be cutting it down to size, sort of like a little square here, so that it fits inside of the file folder. And then using the sort of brown parchment paper, I'm just going to be cutting around that and gluing it to the back. Like so. Trimming off any extra, and you should get something like this. Alright, and now going in with that Coffee and Script scrap piece, I'm just going to be cutting off a small piece of it and tearing it so that it just sort of covers the corner. And it doesn't have to be this piece of paper, obviously you can use whatever you have available. These are just the papers that I'm using. And taking one of the pretty papers from the Wild Mushrooms kit and doing the same thing on the other corner, like so. And then just using some Fabri-Tac glue, I'm going to be gluing that down. And we are going to follow this up with a bit of vellum that we printed on using our printable stamp papers. The link for that is down below. With another piece of the Coffee Script paper down in the right corner, and a butterfly sticker we made with fussy cuts from the Wild Mushrooms kit placed in the center. And then just finishing up with a tiny bit of lace in the upper left corner. And then I went ahead and tore off this edge, and I went over all of the edges besides the torn one with a bit of Vintage Photo Distress ink. Just like that. And then taking a little bit of washi tape, I'm just going to be adding it here for decoration. Again, cutting off any extra. And then taking a little bit of lace, I'm just going to be adding this kind of back behind the torn edge, just double checking and making sure it still fits in the card, and it does. And then another piece of washi tape, and there you go. That is our little card finished. And then going ahead and securing that in using a paper clip, we are going to be grabbing this tag envelope from the Wild Mushroom Journal Kit, and we are going to just be decorating it a little bit and gluing it in to this second page here. So grabbing a bit of scrap lace, I'm just going to be putting that in the corner here. And then I have this notebook page I just tore a small piece out of, and a little bit of cheesecloth, just putting that behind the little scrap piece. And before we do that, we are going to go over the envelope and the little scrap with some distress ink. And then gluing everything down, adding our tag, And I'm also going to be adding a little bit of washi tape to each of the corners of the scrap piece, and then just gluing it in to our wild mushroom folder like this. And that is the inside done and decorated. So we're going to go ahead and move to the front cover. And for that, I'm taking the scrap from our large tag that we cut off earlier, and I'm going to be making sort of like a little label for the front. And to do that, I just went ahead and tore off the sides of this tag and then grabbed another piece of scrap from that coffee and script paper from earlier. And then just going over that with a bit of distress ink and a little piece of lace, and then just gluing everything down. And then adding another one of those fussy cut stickers to finish it up. Next, we're going to be taking a little bit of hardware and using that to decorate the cover after gluing on the label. And the first thing we're going to be starting with is fastening this little key charm to this folder. So we're going to be grabbing a micro hole punch and just punching a small hole up in this left corner here. And then using a little bit of string, I'm going to just be tying that key down. And then adding these corners down to the corners of the folder, just by flattening them and gluing them on like this. And there you go, that is our first wild mushroom folder finished. Alright, going ahead and starting on the second one here, I'm going to be grabbing this little pocket that comes with the wild mushroom kit. It is for the like library card that comes with the kit as well. So we're going to be using both of those pieces here. And I was sort of deciding where I wanted to put it, and I ended up actually using it on the cover. So we're going to go ahead and grab a couple more pieces here for the inside, which would be this little like butterfly tag and these two ticket pieces, just like this. And then grabbing another piece of that coffee and script scrap piece, I'm just going to be tearing it down to go in the corner here to make like a little sort of tuck spot pocket thing here. And that is where this little ticket will go. Something like that, using a small paper clip to secure it, and then also grabbing a scrap piece of lace and a journal word from the kit, and a couple of pearls, like pearl stickers that I had lying around, as well as that vellum and another tag envelope. Just cutting the vellum to fit the tag envelope like this. And I was sort of just making stuff up as I went along here, so I ended up changing some things. Like I believe I moved this vellum to a different part of the page later, so I'm kind of just making things up as I go, trying to figure out what I want to put in each of the pockets. So taking one of these tags, I just cut out small pieces from it, and I'll be using those as like ephemera bits by just rounding off the corners. And I think at one point you'll see that I use like some roses that seem to be laid out, but I end up scrapping that idea and not using them because they were a little too thick for what I was wanting. So it's okay to just kind of do your own thing here. If you want to try something out and change your mind later, that's fine. So taking that small piece of scrap from that tag I just cut up, I ended up using that to be kind of like a tuck spot in the corner, and then grabbing another scrap from that coffee and script paper, I just added a sticker to it, and I'll be using that along with that vellum piece that we cut earlier to make a different sort of tag pocket on the side, like a little tuck pocket. And then just putting one of the tickets in there, as well as grabbing the bookmark from the wild mushroom kit and just folding that in half, and we'll be decorating this with a sticker and a journal word and some cheesecloth. And now that I have all of these pieces, I'm just going to glue everything down. And the cover should look something like this when you're finished. And then instead of those roses, I decided to just go ahead and use a small piece of lace up here at the top, just like that. And now we can go ahead and move on to the inside and glue everything down. Whoops, turns out I was wrong. I did actually use a piece of vellum on this little tag. I must have just cut two different pieces. So I had one for that first pocket, and then I also have this one for the tag. So you will need two pieces. Alright, and that should complete the inside of our second wild mushroom folder. Alright, moving on to the third one here. This one's going to be a little bit more, I don't know, work maybe, but the result's kind of cool afterwards. So for this one, we're going to be tracing a small circle on the cover and then just cutting that out with an X-Acto knife and taking some of that vellum again. We are going to be gluing it down into sort of like a pocket on this inside cover. Just like that. And then cutting off this extra on the side here. And then taking these two tags from the Wild Mushroom Journal Kit, we are going to be gluing those together. And then going over the edge of it lightly with a distress ink in the color Aged Mahogany. And then taking a little bit of this lace ribbon, I'm just going to be cutting it into sort of like a point at the end, like folding it in half and using it to make like a lace pull tab topper so that we can pull the tag in and out of the vellum pocket. And when you are done, you should be able to see your little image right through the circle on the front. And next we're going to be making another circle and cutting that out of one of the pretty pages from the Wild Mushrooms kit. And then cutting it straight across on one edge. And then adding a little glue to create another pocket. Just like that. And then taking a journal word and just sort of gluing it right here on this little tab. Placing a few pearl stickers at the top here. And then filling it with little ephemera pieces from the Wild Mushroom kit and a little bit of lace on the bottom. And then adding another one of those fussy cut stickers. And there you go. That is the inside finished, and to quickly finish up the front cover, I'm just adding a little bit of lace at the top and bottom, as well as these little flourish embellishments, and I will have a link to these in the description box below. And I decided to add a couple of little pearls, different sizes, kind of like whimsical bubbles almost is what I was thinking. And then I'm going over those swirls with just a little bit of white paint on a like foam sponge, just sort of dabbing it so that it's just kind of a very light coating, and then just sort of speckling these to make them a little bit brighter, a little bit lighter. And then just gluing those down and adding a little bit of lace ribbon to the back and gluing down those pearls to make sure that they don't accidentally fall off. And there you go, that is our third folder finished. Alright, and jumping in to our final folder here, I'm going to be grabbing a lot of the same materials we've been using before, and we're going to be making a torn layered pocket here. So to start, I'm just grabbing a piece of that vellum and making sure that it's like almost as tall as the entire folder. And then we're just going to be tearing from the top corner down to the bottom edge here, just like that. And then going in with this pretty paper from the Wild Mushroom Journal kit and doing the same type of thing, but just a little bit shorter, like this. And then I'm using a fingernail to sort of mark the edge here so I can just cut that off so that it fits a little bit better. We'll be cutting off the extra anyway at the end, but that just kind of makes things a little more manageable. And again, just doing the same thing with the other pieces of paper that I have here, the copy script and the brown parchment paper. And then just gluing each layer in sort of like an L shape in the corner. Like so. And then removing any of the extra, trimming that off. And you should have something like this. And now we can go ahead and just tuck some ephemera pieces into it, like this public library card. And this journal word down in here. And I also went ahead and cut out a small piece from this ephemera card that came with the kit. I'm just going to tuck that in here as well. Just like that. And for the second page, I went ahead and grabbed a bunch of those fussy cut stickers that we made. And I'm just going to be layering them one on top of the other like this, to sort of create like an illusion of depth. And then grabbing one of our journal words and a little bit of that aged mahogany distress ink. I'm just going around that. And I'm also taking a piece of lace here, and I had to tear my sticker back just a little bit to kind of get behind it. I decided this is where I wanted to put the lace and the journal word, sort of layering it in the very back here, and then just cutting off a little bit of that extra lace behind the butterfly and gluing everything down. And when it's done, it should look like this. Alright, moving on to the front here. I went ahead and took one of those embellishments, again, the like swirl embellishments, and just cut it in half. And I'm also taking this piece of paper from the Wild Mushroom kit and this little like label holder. And I just cut out the word flowers, and I'm going to be gluing that, the label holder, and the swirls down to the front cover like this. And I forgot to add the little like brads that go in here, so I just sort of cheated and used a Sharpie. Shh, don't tell anyone. And then adding a couple of pearls and a little bit of that aged mahogany distress ink around the edge, just kind of keeping this cover nice and simple. And there you go. That is our final folder finished. So I hope you got some inspiration from today's video, and thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!